What's up, you guys? This is your boy RBG hitting you up with another Spider-Man PS4 related video. We are literally on the cusp of the game's release, and it seems like Sony and Insomniac are releasing more and more footage to get us hyped. In the last video, we went over the insane web swinging gameplay, which looks to focus on some type of leveling up system. In today's video, we'll be breaking down the New York City open world trailer we got a few days ago. But before we get into that, I want to remind you that I'm giving away a free gaming mouse. Since you guys have supported this channel, I've linked up with Mallknow to give you their brand new gaming mouse. It features a high FPS rate, 7 different switches such as the back and forward button, an adjustable DPI, microswitches backed with LED lights, and much more. As I mentioned, you can get this mouse absolutely free, and the shipping and handling averages around $5 depending on your location. The link will be in the description below, so make sure you jump on that while the offer lasts. But anyways, as I mentioned, the most recent footage we've gotten seems to highlight the intuitive swinging mechanics. Like, I know a lot of you guys wanted me to talk about the gameplay launch trailer we got a week ago, but there wasn't anything we haven't already seen from the various conferences and trailers we got prior to that one. Like, there was literally nothing to write home about. But I think this new trailer gives us a better idea that New York is just as much of a character as Spider-Man himself. Like, I'd be lying if I say this game didn't dare to challenge Grand Theft Auto's open sandbox experience, because everything looks meticulously crafted from top to bottom, from the different locales to the wide variety of civilians. This is definitely a landmark that superhero and video game enthusiasts can be proud of. I know I'm going off on a tangent here, but I feel like I'm reviewing the game without having experienced it hands-on. Like, seriously, look at this. You know Insomniac's done their homework when they actually have a random New Yorker wearing Timbs. Come on now. But anyways, I think this trailer pretty much adds validity to what Game Informer covered. One of the first things being what was alluded to in the recent demo. After the infamous crime lord Wilson Fisk is arrested, he mentions how he brought order to the city, pretty much alluding to the fact that Spidey may have opened the floodgates for more crime to come in. A good example would be when J. Jonah Jameson accuses Spider-Man of causing more crime, stating that ever since he sprung into action, gangs have followed suit by setting up secret bases of operation throughout New York. You see that the Kingpin still has henchmen working along rooftops, and the aforementioned Mr. Negative has taken his illegal works to warehouses and construction sites. This is definitely something that will add pressure to Spider-Man, because there's only so much he can do to make everyone happy. Naysayers such as J. Jonah Jameson will use certain mishaps that Spidey had no control over against him to slander his image. I'm assuming that the way you handle crime will also determine how the civilians view you. If you notice, you see Spider-Man on street levels interacting with all the locals, which I'm guessing will also factor in his public perception. He gives people high fives, goes out of his way to take selfies, and it even looks like there will be a certain mission where you'll have to help out shop owners and scare away armed robbers. This is all just an assumption, but if it does make it into the actual game, it will add hours of replayability. Since J. Jonah Jameson has his call-in show, maybe some of Spidey's supporters could call in to commend him on keeping the streets of New York safe. And since we're on the topic of JJ, I just want to say that whoever's doing the voice was an excellent pick. He damn near sounds exactly like J.K. Simmons from the Raimi Spider-Man films. I'm not sure if it's him since the IMDb only lists a handful of voice talent, but I'm loving what I hear. I specifically like how Peter Parker calls in as another person to pat the fires J. Jonah Jameson has thrown on his alter ego's name. It's been officially confirmed that Jonah's talk show titled Just the Facts with J. Jonah Jameson will play periodically throughout the game. If you miss out on some of the more interesting dialogue, you'll be able to replay them by going back to the tab on the game's menu. But moving on, Peter talks about how New York is super diverse and alludes to the player having to use certain locations as vantage points to monitor crime. Some of the most noticeable sites include the famous Avengers Tower and the Sanctum Sanctorum. Back in April, we had gotten word that the two iconic Marvel locations along with the Wakandan embassy would make it into the game, but we hadn't seen any visuals. That's until we got a potential look at the Sanctum Sanctorum, which had been spotted various times through keen observation and interviews with the developers. Back in October, a Reddit user by the name of Big Fat Love 101 posted a snapshot from the PGW 2017 trailer. If you look closely at the 47-second mark, you get a brief side view of Doctor Strange's mysterious mansion. Some fans were hyped about the Easter egg, but there were a lot of doubters who thought it could possibly be something else. I mean, it wasn't necessarily a clear shot of the building, but about 8 months later after the dust cleared at E3, Insomniac Games released an in-depth recap via a live stream where fans got to get a full frontal view of Doctor Strange's mansion. Around the 40-minute mark, you can see Spidey swinging from building to building until he found himself on a roof directly across from the Sanctum Sanctorum. Brian Intihar and Kemp didn't really elaborate on the Sorcerer Supreme's home, so it's somewhat unclear if you'll be able to fully explore the building from the inside. If anything, I hope Spidey has some kind of dialogue reference where he talks about past experiences with Doctor Strange, since he's most likely become acquainted with him in his lengthy tenure as a crime fighter. But anyways, it was only a week earlier before E3 that we had gotten word that the Avengers Tower would also be featured in this title. I was stoked, but not as hyped as I am about Doctor Strange's Sanctum Sanctorum because it's a building we've seen in a lot of different Marvel related mediums. I also knew that it would be totally different from its MCU counterpart, and I was somewhat right. It looks to be more of a simple design of the building with the Avengers A on the side of it. Then again, it was a brief shot. If anything, I hope that these Easter eggs potentially plant the seeds of a possible expanded Marvel game universe, especially after getting the announcement of the Avengers project, a project that fans are desperately waiting to get more insight on. Like, I know a lot of fans are expecting to get future games that are interconnected to this one. It's one of the main reasons why I think Square Enix and Marvel Entertainment opted not to show the Avengers game at E3, because they know this title has so many eyes glued to it with all the showcases and a huge marketing campaign. But moving on, we got a few other popular sites in the city of New York, and one that struck out to me the most was this epic shot of Columbia University, one of the most prestigious colleges in New York where a lot of the popular Marvel intellects attended. You have characters like Mr. Fantastic, Matt Murdock, Professor X, who've all had some form of education from this school before they became the heroes they are today. It was also featured in the Raimi Spider-Man films where Peter Parker attained his powers in one of the laboratories. He even attended Columbia University instead of ESU like he's done in most of the other comic book iterations in this game. In the Netflix MCU Daredevil series, Matt Murdock and Foggy Nelson were actually roommates in the famous university, so there's so much established Marvel history that's associated with this college, and as I've mentioned earlier, I hope there's some kind of references or dialogue that mentions these things. But moving on, I want to elaborate a little more on the web swinging mechanics. In the trailer, Jameson briefly talks about the various tricks and flips Spidey's able to do in midair, and you can kinda sorta hear the little sound prompts when he stitches different flips together, just without the heads up display. I harped on how your experience points would hinge on how many tricks you pull, but I didn't go over the actual controls since I haven't had the hands-on experience with the game, and it's still a relatively new feature that was revealed in later demos that fans didn't have the luxury of playing. But we now have a good idea of how it works, largely thanks in part to Game Informer's executive editor Andrew Rayner. This is what he had to say. As soon as I let go of the web line, I tap triangle and circle together to make Spider-Man curl up into a ball and flip through the air. Each trick nets him bonus XP and extra focus. I don't know if there are ways to initiate different tricks or if they are just randomly cycled, but you can see a moonsault in the GIF above. No matter how complex this system ends up being, getting more XP from this fun little activity could be a great way of helping achieve levels faster. The XP reward isn't much, but it will add up over time. Some of the other tricks include the spider roll, the flying helix, dragon roll, and trick switch. So once again, it's as I've assumed. Your experience points will be determined by the multiple moves you pull off before you shoot out another web or hit the ground. I'm guessing the button input will probably be pattern based because hearing Andrew talk about having to press circle and triangle together makes it seem like there will be one move that can be altered into many. Like circle could be the flip button while triangle could be the aerial spin button. And I know a lot of fans are probably thinking that 2 button inputs doesn't seem like there would be enough to warrant a plethora of tricks. But after experiencing how web swinging was in older entries like Spider-Man 2 where you will basically have 1 button doing most of the tricks, I'm more optimistic than ever to learn that we could possibly have 2 action buttons as opposed to 1. Each button could be double tapped or even charged to hold out certain flips. But anyways, I think I've rambled on long enough. You guys have been asking to hear my opinions on this trailer, and I'm always flattered that you want to see my video analysis on them. This game just keeps getting better and better by each trailer, like I said. And I think Sony knows that it's going to sell like hotcakes because their marketing campaign has been great. We've been seeing Spider-Man PS4 on billboards, and there's even a custom-made subway cart that's specifically designed for the game. So this is undoubtedly a passion project that's going to be remembered for years to come. But with that said, I'm going to end the video. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comment section below. As always, I ask that you like or dislike the video. It doesn't have to be a thumbs up, it can be a thumbs down. Any feedback is good feedback and will only help me improve on future content. But if you really enjoyed the video, it would help me out tremendously if you shared it on social media with all your friends and followers. But anyways, this is your boy RBG signing out on another video. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.